What is going on, everyone? You got Kyle here from SpeedBets, bringing you guys a UFC video. I'm here to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, which is the welterweight division in the UFC. Now, a lot of my favorite fighters in the UFC are in this division. This is my favorite division in the whole UFC. I think that there is kind of two groups in this division. We have the kind of older guys, the Bilal, you have your Kobe, your Usman, Gilbert Burns, like Wonder Boy. That's kind of one sect of it. And then you have the up and comers, the prospects, and there are so many in this division. You have all the prospects, like the one we're going to be talking about in this video, Joaquin Buckley. You have Carlos Prates. You have your guys like JDM, your Shavkats, your Ian Garys, your Brian Battles. There's just so much fresh blood in this division, and there's some fights that I absolutely need to see. I'm going to make another video about that, talking about fights that I think are inevitable and my picks on those fights. But today, we're here to talk about the main event of UFC Tampa, the last event of the year. Joaquin Buckley taking on Colby Covington. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are just kind of making this fight out to be like it's just cut and dry. Buckley's going to beat Covington. And I don't know that I'm fully on board yet. I've watched a lot of tape today. I watched just about every single Joaquin Buckley fight within the relevant time. I watched a lot of Colby Covington fights. And I'm just not sure. I don't know what Buckley has done to earn a 3-1 tag over Colby Covington. There's something we have to talk about. Why would Colby Covington take this fight? Because sure as shit didn't really do anything for him. This isn't a number one contenders fight. This isn't for an interim belt. This isn't for a title shot. We know Colby likes to act when he sees an opportunity like that. What does he see in this fight? He definitely could have sat on the sidelines and got a Wonder Boy call out. He could have absolutely done that. He could have called out a guy like Gilbert Burns, a guy like Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson. He could have got a much easier fight, a very winnable fight. And at a glance, this fight doesn't appear winnable to a lot of people. It's kind of Buckley's just on this rampage, this unstoppable rampage. He's going to run through Colby. And I just don't know if I agree. Let's take a look at what Joaquin Buckley's been doing recently, okay? Buckley obviously coming off that win against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Now, when I'm breaking down his recent fights here, I would like to preface this. I am being very critical on purpose. Okay, I'm not a Buckley hater. I'm just not necessarily a believer yet. I think this fight against Colby Covington is going to tell us a lot about the division, and it's going to open up a lot of different opportunities for both fighters, whatever happens, okay? I think Buckley's exciting. I think he's entertaining. I do like watching Buckley's fights, okay? So let's get into this. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. UFC 307. In my opinion, after watching the fight back and live, I think Wonderboy was up 2 rounds to nothing. It was an ultra competitive 2-0. Could be 1-1. I thought a lot of people had it 1-1. I personally had it 2-0 for Wonderboy. He just didn't let Buckley find the range. He was catching him when he came in. Yes, Buckley dove in for a couple takedowns that really didn't do anything. Wonderboy worked his way back up to the feet. Buckley doesn't have the control, doesn't have the scramble capabilities. And I think Wonderboy was just doing a little bit more. Third round starts. We get just about halfway through. And then Buckley comes with a flying, jumping hook. Just a weird Hail Mary type of shot. And he catches Wonderboy on the chin, drops him, knocks him out. I mean, Wonderboy got up right away after. It wasn't like he wasn't out unconscious, twitching like Bryce Mitchell against Josh Emmett. It was a bad knockout. Yes, I'm a big Wonderboy Thompson fan. That sucked to see. But it was not calling it a fluke. By the way. But it was a knockout he needed, down 2 rounds, getting outstruck by a guy that's 40 years old. We go down. Nurtsin Ruziboyev. This guy is an absolute fraud. Let's take a look at what this guy's been up to recently. He's got 2 UFC wins. Bruno Ferreira. That's a good win. I respect that win a lot, actually. Bruno Ferreira's a great win to have. But his win against Cedric Dumas... Guys, I don't know. It was just an eye poke. He just eye poke TKO'd him Chris Weidman style. And then, for some reason, after having 2 first-round knockouts at 185, he decides to cut to 170? I don't necessarily understand that. I don't know why he'd do something like that. You go back in the day, this guy's fight against Boris Miroshkinekino. I just butchered that name, I don't care. Way back in the day, 170, he lost. Then he has one right after against Maxim Soroka, 170, he wins. Then it's back up to 185. And then he's staying at 185. He's even doing catchweight bouts or whatever. He's not a 170 fighter. All of this guy's best performances are at 185. Let me go back even further. He has 2 losses in a row. Murad Ramazanov and Oleg Dadanov. 2 fights in a row at 170 for no apparent reason. And he lost them both. He's fighting at 185 before that. He's fighting at 185 after that. I don't know why he cut to 170. And then we go back again to another one. After those 2 losses, these are before, sorry, I'm talking in reverse order here. So we had those 2 losses. The fight before that was a 185 win. The fight before that was a 185 win. The fight before that, another random 170 weight cut. He loses to Kimiran Abasov. Now, with the exception of Ramazanov, who's a great fighter in the PFL, just lost back-to-back against Shamil Musayev, who, in my opinion, is the best 170-pound fighter in the entire world right now. Most dangerous fighter for certain. I think besides that guy, I mean, these guys all have losses. They aren't these undefeated prospects that he should be losing to. It's just these random 170 weight cuts. And I mean, you even go back further, like 2017 we're talking, he has another random 170 weight cut. And he's losing. I just don't get it. Every time this guy goes to 170, he just catches a loss. He has a lot of losses in his record. He's not some flawless fighter. He's got 9 losses. I think I've spent enough time tearing down Nurultsin Ruziboyev here for you. So I don't know why he made that 170 cut. Then he was going to do it again to fight Renat Fakhretdinov. I'm glad that fight fell apart because we learned Renat is more of a fraud than we thought. I mean, this division is just so cooked. Why is Ruziboyev fighting Renat, who's just about to be in the rankings after getting worked by Buckley? Why was that even a fight that made a little bit of sense? And then Renat goes out and loses to Carlos Leal. It's ridiculous, man. This division is in shambles right now, and we need to save this division. All right, so then Buckley, the fight before that, Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque just got a great dark finish over Themba Gorimbo. Dude, Themba Gorimbo fucking sucks. Themba Gorimbo has 0 good wins. If Luque didn't win that fight, he was cooked. Okay, but in this Buckley fight, it's so interesting. The first round, kind of tit for tat, nothing happened. In my opinion, nothing notable happened in that first round. Second round starts, they're doing a little dance around. Luque goes in for a takedown. He gets his takedown stuffed, and then he pulls guard. He pulled like a half guard. And then instead of like trying to get his knee in there, get a knee shield, trying to put the foot on the hip, he just kind of curled up, put his guard up, and just started doing this. And he didn't fight back. He didn't try and close the space, grab Buckley's head, pull him down. He didn't do anything. It's like he didn't want to be in there anymore. I don't want to say he quit, but he just kind of tapped out. He was done. He didn't want to fight anymore right there. It was just so weird because Buckley hadn't really done anything in that fight. And then he lands these pitter-pat strikes on Luque's forearms when he's holding him up over his head. And the fight gets stopped. You go to the fight before that, Alex Morono. Again, I'm not trying to discredit Buckley. Obviously, he won all of these fights. These are good fights to have won. But it's like I'm questioning the level of your competition. If your best, most impressive win is probably over Alex Morono, where you look the most complete. And the fight before that, Andre Fialho, that guy's been knocked out 5 times in the span of 2 years. I picked Tim Means with confidence to knock out Andre Fialho. That's the level of this. That's what this guy's level is. I mean, how can you even talk about this guy? He got knocked out by Jake Matthews, knocked out by Muslim Salikov, knocked out by Joaquin Buckley, knocked out by Tim Means, knocked out by Jahangir Jumiev. Whoever that is, some UAE Warriors fighter. It's just, I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock into that win. Who is, who is Andre Fialho's best win? Cameron Van Camp? I don't know. I can't put too much stock into a knockout win over Andre Fialho. And then before that, he's getting knocked out by Chris Curtis, decision by Nasruddin Imavov. The Albert Duraev win was a good win, but Albert Duraev's eye swelled shut pretty early in that fight, and he just couldn't see, and even with one eye, he's still landing takedowns. Yeah, a lot of them got stuffed, and he didn't really do a whole lot on the ground, but with one eye, he was able to take down Buckley on multiple occasions. And then a fight that interested me a lot watching back was the Abdul Razak Al Hassan fight. I remember after this fight, Abdul Razak was so fucking mad. He's talking about he didn't want to be a man on the feet. He wanted to wrestle and hold me.
It would be an exciting fight, maybe.
I want to fight that bitch ass Buckley again. If anybody see him, tell him I say he's a fucking bitch, right? He's a pussy. Can I say that? He's a fucking pussy, like a big ass pussy. Okay, so I know it's a fight game, but when you talk so much shit, right, and you stand in front of another guy and be like, I'm gonna knock you the fuck out, okay? And we had an agreement. Let's go in the center of the ring. Let's fucking bang and see who the fuck is gonna go down first. A bitch ass for one punch. He's like, oh, let me take you down. You are a bitch, Buckley. If you're watching this, you a bitch. I wanna whoop your ass. I swear, you a fucking bitch.
This is just crazy, man. It's a fight. It's MMA. You gotta mix it up. Buckley was Buckley Nurmagomedov in this fight. He was shooting takedowns. He was pressuring forward. And in the third round, he got tired and he almost got TKO'd on the ground. About halfway through that third round, Buckley didn't have shit left in the tank. Buckley got reversed on a takedown, I believe it was, and then Abdul Razak was just on top of him, raining it down. I think Buckley stood up from like a scramble, and then he got tripped, like a little judo trip. And Abdul Razak was probably a good minute and a half away from finishing that fight. I say a minute and a half because Abdul Razak was also really tired, so it would have had to have been kind of a volume ground TKO. But dude, Buckley did not look good, and that was only 3 rounds of putting up with a wrestling pace. Not all offensive. Yes, obviously Buckley was striking a lot more than Razak. He was kind of getting worked on the feet a little bit with the power. He was pressing forward. Abdul Razak was defending with his threatening judo throws. Very high-level judo practitioner. And I just think the end of that fight, when he finally pulled Abdul Razak off of Buckley, Buckley didn't stand up. Abdul Razak also didn't stand up. They were both gassed. It took Buckley probably a minute to get back to his feet. The second he stood up, they put a stool underneath him, told him to sit back down. He was gassed. I don't know that he could have walked to his corner after that round if it was a 5-round fight. And seeing stuff like that kind of worries me. I think this level of competition is just not anywhere near comparable to Colby Covington. But then we're talking about the age 30 for Buckley. Colby Covington, he's 36. He hasn't fought in a year. He's just as inactive as Shavkat Rakhmonov is. Shavkat looked a little stiff in rounds 1 and 2, but he figured it out. I think Colby Covington coming back into this fight, coming back into the fight scene more or less, after a year off against Leon Edwards, put up that stinker performance, allegedly broke his foot. I don't know whether or not that's true. I have no reason to believe it's not true, if that makes sense. I understand Colby plays a character. He feeds into the media, feeds into the press, everything like that. I don't think I have a reason to believe that that's not true. I think he did maybe fracture. Maybe it wasn't a clean break, but something happened to him. He did not look like himself in that fight. There's a reason that was a pick'em, okay? If they got rebooked right now, I bet Leon would be like a 3-1 favorite just because of how bad Colby Covington looked. But I'm not ready to call Colby washed. And I just don't necessarily know what Buckley's going to do to Colby Covington that warrants this minus 300 price tag on him. I mean, I think the way Buckley wins this fight is by walking forward and chinning Colby. Which, don't get me wrong, that's entirely possible. I mean, there's a 6-year age gap, and at welterweight, that 6 years means a lot. I'm not ready to give it up, man. The combination that Jorge Masvidal dropped Colby to a knee with was a step-in hook he stepped back then, he pull countered and hit him with a check right hook, clean. An absolute clean combo by Jorge, that was beautiful. Dropped Colby to a knee, he got right back up. Didn't hit the mat, just touched a knee and got right back up. That combination puts down a lot of people. That combination would knock the fucking lights out of Joaquin Buckley. That combination does a lot of damage to most fighters in this division. Kobe has a good chin. Prime Usman hit hard. He broke Kobe Covington's jaw, and Kobe Covington wasn't ready to give up. This guy's not going to wilt if Buckley lands one or two decent shots. That's just not who he is. Also, why is Kobe Covington taking this fight? I think that he's been in camp training. I wholeheartedly believe Kobe Covington has been training his ass off. I think it was not necessarily for Ian Gary, but I think he was ready if that fight came available to him. I think Kobe Covington wanted to beat Ian Gary. And I think he was training his ass off to get himself ready for that. And when Bilal got injured, I know something went off in Kobe Covington's head. He thought maybe there's an interim opportunity. Kobe Covington would do anything for an interim title opportunity right now. He would have taken Shavkat on short notice for an interim title opportunity. And I think based off the performance he saw against Ian Gary, I think Kobe Covington would have fared all right against Shavkat. I don't think that would have been a domination by Shavkat. I've been saying this forever. Shavkat's overrated as hell. Been saying that. Now everyone understands it, but I've been saying that forever. I just think Kobe Covington's been locked in the gym. I don't think this is like necessarily short notice. The only short notice thing is the fact that it's Buckley and not Ian Gary or Shavkat. Two fighters that are way better than Buckley. If Ian Gary went through with that original matchup against Buckley, he would have beat the fucking brakes off him. 50-45 is maybe a 50-44 scorecard in there. I mean, I just don't think that fight would have been competitive at all, especially after seeing what he did to Shavkat. I just don't necessarily get this fight's odds. I don't really understand the general confidence in Joaquin Buckley. I mean, we look at the Tapology predictions, which I know that doesn't really mean a ton. 77% of people are picking Buckley in this fight. I don't know. I really just do not know. How can you be so confident? I mean, these guys, they're almost as confident in Buckley as they are in like Petrino and Kopp. I think Petrino and Kopp are much more likely to get a win than Buckley right now. And I'm not even that high on Manel Kopp. I think we got to look back at these Kobe Covington fights. Round 4 and 5 against Leon Edwards is when Kobe Covington seemed to have woken up. The first 3 rounds, he didn't do anything uncharacteristic of Kobe Covington to just kind of stand there. And it was a staring contest. This whole fight was boring as hell. Leon landed like 56 strikes. Kobe landed like 51. And it just wasn't, nothing happened in this fight for the first 15 to 20 minutes. Then in the 4th round, there was suddenly like a fire under Kobe's ass. He started pressuring forward. He started pushing Leon into that cage. He started trying to take him down. And guess what? He did. Then in round 5, Kobe just shoots from the open, grabs a single leg, lifts Leon's leg up and trips him. Great takedown, ensues into a scramble, gets the back, pushes him up against the cage. I mean, he wasn't really close to landing a choke. He was just kind of in decent positions. He didn't have the back or anything. He just kind of had like a half guard, threatening, kind of pitter-pat, ground and pound. Leon's trying to scramble out, but he's not really doing anything. Kobe keeps him down. Then eventually Leon kind of stands up and he like threatens a ninja choke. And then Kobe Gator rolls out of it, and the round's kind of history. But Kobe Covington came alive, and he started looking like himself. Round 5 against Leon Edwards, that looked like the Kobe Covington that I thought was going to be there for all 5 rounds of this fight. If we get that Kobe Covington, I think he absolutely will beat Joaquin Buckley. Just seeing the inability of Joaquin Buckley to deal with the grappling pressure and just the grappling heavy fight against a guy like Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and then against Albert Jurayev, I mean, every time Albert Jurayev shot, he just got stuffed, and then on the way out, he got like chinned. I mean, that guy had a pretty weak chin. Buckley was just a lot stronger than him. Every time he landed, it seemed like he was dropping Jurayev. You're not going to drop Kobe with one shot like that. It's going to take a lot more to drop Kobe. And the volume that Kobe's going to be putting back on Buckley, the pressure, the pace in my head that I'm thinking Kobe Covington can put on Buckley is going to be a lot. Buckley just kind of stands there. He bounces around. He's like always jumping. I think Buckley's going to be on the back foot. He's not going to be pushing forward. When Wonderboy kept him on the back foot, Wonderboy was winning. The second Buckley started walking Wonderboy down, really putting it on him, trapping him against the cage when he got the knockout. When Wonderboy was able to stick and move, he was winning. Colby Covington not necessarily going to stick and move, but he can stay safe from these big power shots. When Buckley winds up one of these big power shots or one of these stupid-ass spinning kind of karate kicks that he tries to do, Colby's going to dive in, he's going to grab that body lock, push him right up to the cage. There was a time in the Masvidal fight when Colby kind of slipped. Masvidal jumped on top of him in like turtle position, sprawled out fully. Colby just had the sheer strength to push Masvidal back while he's full sprawled and Colby's on his all fours. Pushed him back to the cage, stood up and got a body lock. That is impressive. That is some serious will, some serious determination to get the takedown, to push him up against the cage, to get that control time. If Colby Covington can put Joaquin Buckley on the defensive from the first round, I don't think Buckley is going to be able to do a whole lot after rounds 3 and 4. I think round 5 has potential to be one of the most dominant rounds we've seen out of Colby Covington in his career, because I don't think Buckley has the cardio to deal with a grappling fight for 25 minutes. We know Colby does. Colby's got a gas for days. This guy could do a 10-round fight. Buckley cannot. He could barely do a 3-round against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who is nowhere near the level of grappler that Colby Covington is. I'm not going to sit here and just ignore the fact that there's a chance we just see the Colby Covington that fought Leon Edwards for those first 3 rounds again. I'm obviously, for the sake of this breakdown, I'm being very lenient to Colby Covington. I'm assuming the best in Colby Covington because I think it makes for a more interesting breakdown. There is a world where Colby Covington is just washed. And what we saw against Leon Edwards is what we're going to see here. He's going to try and dance around. Buckley's going to walk him down, and Buckley will catch him. I'm choosing to believe that Colby Covington is more dedicated. Now, Ian Gary has a lot of hype on his name. He gained a lot of stock from that loss to Shavkat. I think the Ian Gary fight is interesting to Colby Covington now. Before, even when Ian Gary was undefeated, that fight didn't mean a whole lot. The world kind of hated Ian Gary. No one liked him. No one was putting respect on his name. Ian Gary gained a hell of a lot of respect from a lot of fight fans. And I think if Colby Covington wins this fight, he's going to get on the mic. He's going to say something along the lines of, "Everybody cheer if you fucked Ian Gary's wife." And it's going to be a whole big thing. It's going to go viral on ESPN. And then he's going to call out Ian Gary, and that fight's going to get a lot of hype. It's going to be like a fight night headliner next year. And I think that fight gets a lot of eyes. Buckley, if he wins this fight, he's going to try and do some shitty call out. I mean, Buckley is just so unlikable, man. This guy was beefing with Cub Swanson on Twitter. Why are you beefing with Cub Swanson? Like, what does that do for you? Just makes you an unlikable individual. I don't know. I'm just not too big of a fan of Buckley. I think the way this division progresses is with a Colby Covington win. If Buckley wins this fight, the division is just beyond cooked. Obviously, we have that Shavkat title fight coming up. I've been saying this for a while, guys. Bilal's going to beat Shavkat. Unless Belal is like the first champion fucking ever to be washed by his first title defense, his style is not a good matchup for Shavkat. Shavkat will get taken down, Belal will take Shavkat's back, and he will do the same thing he did to Leon Edwards to Shavkat. And then we have what's likely going to be Jack Della Maddalena versus Kamaru Usman. In my opinion, JDM's going to get like a 5th round TKO over Usman. I think Usman's just too old, too many injuries. The knees are just a constant issue. He can't wrestle like he used to. So I don't think JDM's going to worry as much about that. He can threaten with knees up the middle like he did against Gilbert Burns. I just think that at this point in time, Usman is a relatively good fight for JDM. Ian Gary fights the winner of this fight. If the winner of this fight is Buckley, I think Ian Gary just stomps out Buckley, and then we're back to the big 3 on the top. If Colby Covington wins, the Ian Gary fight gets a lot of eyes, and then that fight is likely for a title eliminator. Even coming off a loss, Ian Gary, I think, makes that fight a title eliminator if Colby Covington beats Buckley. There's going to be so much hype around that fight. If JDM just barely squeaks out a decision against Usman, I think the winner of Covington and Gary could jump him for a shot. Or, more realistically, I think JDM would just get a shot pretty soon after Shavkat does. I think Bilal is getting a little bit older. Obviously, he's getting older. He's going to want to get these defenses while he can before he hits like the age of 38, 39. And I think he's going to want to take on JDM early. I think JDM might beat Bilal. I'm not 100% sure on that fight. I have to see how Bilal looks against Shavkat before I'm willing to pick that. But I'm very high on JDM. I'm a big fan of JDM. And I just think the top of this division is going to get logjammed pretty heavily if Buckley wins this fight. Because you can't really make a title eliminator with Buckley. His best win will be Colby Covington, who's the number 5 guy. I mean, you probably got to beat someone in the top 5 to get a title shot. Shavkat tried to go without doing that. Didn't work for him. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm cheering for Colby Covington. I want Colby Covington to win this fight. I think he absolutely can. If he has any resemblance of his prime, those fights against Usman, the fight against Jorge, if he looks anything like he did in those fights, in this fight, he is absolutely going to beat Joaquin Buckley 49-46. And that is my final prediction. I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.
You guys know that guy's a fucking bitch, right? Seriously, I'm not. This is yeah, that guy. And also, everything he does now is just for fucking clout. He just want to like, he see you, you know.